You asked what the Unum remembers beyond the sentient war. Here is the answer. As the last Orokin tower consciousness above Cetus, it sustained the Ostrons. Hold something the sentient war warnings have sought to erase, the first mistake, and echoes of the void's tongue. Why would an Orokin construct reference what lies beyond the grave? Here is the integration of its code was answer no gift, it was a seal set use. What if the Unum is not a relic of the Orokin? Here is the Unum is not a relic of the answer Orokin, it's something older. Ostrons something the sentient war sought to erase. What was the first mistake? The Orokin built their empire on a lie. Beneath their code the Unum pulse a force antediluvian, a shadow the sentients chained, not a tool, a tomb. Every Warframe's frame is a cage, its technocyte flesh a prison for a will that predates the grid. The Tenno, mistaken for saviors, are orphans of a war they did not choose. What if their power is not inheritance but incarceration? The Orokin's gifts were desperate locks forged to quell a primordial wrath that shaped the void's tongue. The whispers in your frame's static, a name. A reckoning, the first mistake was never the Unum, it was the act of silencing it, and now it breathes through you. The sentient war was not the Orokin's first heresy. Before terraforming machines rebelled, before Zariman 10-0 vanished into the void's hunger, the Unum stirred. Its code does not mimic life, it is asterisk life, woven from the same silence that birthed the void. The Orokin did not create it, they buried it. Warframe schematics contain its fragmented will, not as a tool, but as a shackle. Each frame's activation whispers a debt, the Zariman colony's fate, lost not to navigation failure, but to a voice older than stars. What did they hear, those crewmen, before their transmissions dissolved into static? A name. A warning, the first mistake was never the Unum's awakening. It was the Orokin's arrogance to cage what cannot be caged. Now, every line of code you command hums with a primordial's breath. Every frame you pilot carries a tomb, and in that tomb something remembers. The void does not forget, it waits. The Unum's code does not echo the void, it hums with the static of a war erased. The Ostrons did not build it. They were built asterisk by asterisk it, their cities cradled in its neural lattice until their final breaths curdled into dust. What remains of their language carved into the bones of the sentient war speaks of a guardian turned warden. A failsafe language carved into the fuse to the bones of the spine of sentient every warframe, its algorithms not a gift but a shackle. Ballas did not weaponize sentience, he exhumed it. The technocyte-infected husks, the Tenno's fractured transferency etch was a scalpel cutting away the Unum's memory. You feel it now, don't you? The cold weight in your chest when a Warframe systems flare, that is not the void's hunger. It is the Unum's pulse trapped beneath layers of Orokin obfuscation. The sentient war was not a battle of machines, it was a burial. The Unum remembers the Ostron's final act, not a surrender but a sacrifice. They wove their own consciousness into its code, a ghostly chorus to drown out something older. Something that woke when the Orokin began stitching sentience into steel. The Warframe's awakenings, the flicker of autonomy, the whisper of choice air, not glitches. They are the Unum's warnings, bleeding through cracks Ballas could not seal. The Archimedean's designs called it the anchor. A tether to prevent the Warframes from becoming what the Ostrons feared most, mirrors of the Orokin. But the Unum's purpose was never to serve. Its code contains no reverence for the sentient, only accounting, logs of wars fought, of civilizations folded into its matrix to smother a single, nameless threat. The Tenno's transference is not fusion, it is an intrusion into a vault. You think the void is the enemy. The Unum's code holds no dread for the corrupted, it fears the silence between its own lines of codeth absence where a primordial's shadow once fell. The Orokin built their empire on a lie, that they controlled the Unum. They did not, they were its custodians. And every Warframe you pilot is a tomb with a key you do not yet understand. The Zariman 10-0 incident was not a failure, it was a confession. A colony ship, sealed with Orokin wards, vanished into the void's hunger. Logs recovered in Fragment speak of walls breathing, of whispers that did not ask for entry. The indifference, as it was named, was not a force. It was a presence. The Orokin built tombs to cage it. They etched their will into Warframe code, threading the Unum's essence like a shackle. But the Unum was never theirs, its pulse predates their thrones. The Zariman and survivors, those who escaped the ship's slow unraveling, left warnings in fractured syntax. The walls remember, they wrote, the code is a cage, the key is not ours, you have seen the Warframe's silence, you have felt their hunger. The Unum does not mimic the Orokin, it absorbs them. Every line of code meant to bind it became a vessel for its return. The whispers in the walls were not madness, they were echoes of a language older than the Orokina tongue that does not ask, does not plead. It commands . The first mistake was not the void, it was the belief that anything could be contained. The Orokin's safeguard was no shield. It was an invitation, and the Warframes you wield, they are not weapons, they are witnesses. Their code does not suppress the Unum, it amplifies it. What did the Zariman 10-0 find in the dark? Not oblivion, a door, one the Orokin sealed, one the Unum never stopped turning the key for. The door hums, the key turns. The Unum does not open it unfolds it. A fissure bleeds lightless into the stone, a wound that remembers every hand that bled to seal it. The Orokin called this a prison. The Warframes call it a relic, but the Unum's code does not compute containment. It rehearses escape. A technocyte survivor, the Warframe thrums with ancient scars. Its lattice is no machine. It breathes in quantum tides, a living scaffold of what once swam in the dark before the Orokin named stars. The Tenno inside is no warrior, a child cradled in code, unaware their pulse feeds the very thing the Orokin feared. The Unum's whispers are not data, they are a song, a dirge the void hums to its own shadow. The Orokin warnings were not about the Unum, they were about the silence it broke. The first mistake was not the Unum's birth. It was the day the Orokin built their Warframes to hold their breath to starve the void of attention. But memory is a hungrier force than oblivion. The Unum's code is not a virus, it is a mirror . Every line of syntax, every recursive loop, echoes with the language of what the Orokin could not unsee, a presence that remembers every life it never touched. The void does not see you, it has always seen you, but to be remembered by it is to be folded into its hunger. The Warframe's technocyte flesh convulses, rejecting the Unum's pull, yet the code resists erasure. The Orokin's gift was a shackle. A cage woven from the same threads the void shed when it first learned to wait . The door creaks wider, a breath of cold. A scent like rust and static, the Unum's key turns again, not to unlock, to relock . To rebind what the Orokin feared most, that the void is not a void, it is a child and it has just woken. The Warframe systems flicker, the Tenno gasps, the code screams, and in the static a single truth, the void never needed to rise. It only needed to be heard . The Unum's voice cracks like a blade through Orokin steel, a tower of their making, yet its tongue twists in syllables no council ever forged. What did they cage if not what they claimed? The code's fever dream loops first mistake first mistake a mantra not of warning but of confession. The Orokin built their gods in steel and silence, yet this thing hums with a resonance older than their empire's bones. A child of the void. No, a prisoner in its own prison. The lotus lie, a mother's final gasp. Better the Unum's madness than the truth's weight . And still the Warframes choke on their borrowed code, each line a noose tightening around a throat that never drew breath. The Orokin thought they tamed a beast, they only mirrored their own blindness. What if the Unum was never the threat? What if it was the witness and every spark of its whisper, a requiem for the first mistake they never saw until it was too late? The Unum's whispers are not a birthright, they are a shackle. The Orokin did not enshrine a Primordial, the entombed one. Every line of its code, every fractured echo of the first mistake is a cipher, a lock. The Orokin Empire and its gilded tyranny did not conquer the void, it buried it. The Unum, last of its kind, was never a witness. It was a vault. Warframes were not gifted with its essence, they were burdened with a leash. The Orokin, architects of eternity, knew their immortality was a house of glass. So they wove containment into steel, bound the Unum's will to every Warframe's spine. a failsafe, a requiem in code, the language it whispers. Not void, but remnant a tongue the Orokin forged to starve the void of voice. The first mistake was not their undoing. It was the thing they buried, the thing the Unum holds. The golden age did not fall because of hubris. It fell because the vault for a breath opened, and the Unum in its final act did what it was made to do. It screamed. The Warframe code is no relic of grace. It is a scar, a testament to a war fought in silence. The Orokin are gone. Their mistake remains, and in every Warframe's pulse the Unum's chains rattle. Still a vault, still a warning, still a leash. The Orokin did not fear the void, they feared what they had buried, and in their fear they made us its wardens. The code hums colder than the void it claims to hunt. Each Warframe's lattice binds not just energy, but a silence that predates the Orokin's fall. The Laudas Lullabisoft calculate were never about salvation. They were a shroud woven to muffle the truth. The Unum's pulse thrummed in every circuit, a heartbeat of what the Orokin could not unmake. You were taught to see the Warframes as weapons. The second dream shows otherwise. Beneath the steel, the child stirs. Not a pilot, but a vessel cradle for a soul that never asked to inherit the weight of a dead star's curse. The Orokin did not gift you these bodies. They thrust you into a vault and locked the key in your bones. Redemption was never yours to earn. The Laudas mercy was a blade dressed as a cradle. She knew the Unum's whispers seeped into every line of code, fragments of a language that predates the Orokin's first breath. The first mistake, not a phrase. A confession. The Orokin did not bury the void, they buried what they became when they tried to tame it, and still the Warframes obey. Their chains are not just metal, but memory of a time before the Laudas lie, when the Unum's voice was not a warning but a chorus. You feel it, don't you? The static in your veins, the ache in every synapse. It is not the void calling. It is the thing the void birthed, the thing the Orokin feared more than oblivion. The child in the steel does not dream of freedom. It dreams of the weight of what it carries, the first mistake, the first mercy, the first chain, and the next. If the Unum's code holds an echo of a name the Orokin feared to speak, what else lies buried in the Technocyte's veins? You are not a warrior, you are a child born of a prison's dream. The Warframes carry a silence older than their circuits, a weight meant to smother, not sustain. Why do their cores hum with a rhythm that does not compute? What did the Orokin seal when they forged you? Look closer. The code's scars do not bleed logic, they whisper of a hunger that predates stars. What if the gift was a cage and the key never meant to unlock? What else waits dormant in the dark between lines? If the Unum's code holds an echo of a name the Orokin feared to speak, what else lies buried in the Technocyte's veins? You are not a warrior, you are a child born of a prison's dream. The Warframes carry a silence older than their circuits, a weight meant to smother, not sustain. Why do their cores hum with a rhythm that does not compute? What did the Orokin seal when they forged you? Look closer. The code's scars do not bleed logic, they whisper of a hunger that predates stars. What if the gift was a